Hey guys, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor video. This time I'm going to be just giving you a little bit of a run through some of the models that we found that have been data mined. Now these are via mmo-champion, but I've got some thoughts on them as well, and one or two points to make about general weapon design, so hopefully that will be of interest to you. Anyway, let's start off with the axes. Now, I'm just going to sort of flash axes by the screen as I go and just talk about them in general, so... yeah, I think that's just the best way to do it rather than me going through them one by one, because honestly, that would take half an hour. How do I know that it would take half an hour? Well, I actually recorded that, and it took half an hour, which was too long. So, multiple different axes. First of all, I love the return to having some nice Draenei weapons. That makes me so happy. You know, I play a Draenei as a main. Okay, I don't play a class that could use an axe, but I love the Draenei weapons. I love that feel, and I'm just really happy that it's back. There's also there's a really cool one around here. You'll see it's a pickaxe basically. It's like a pickaxe styled axe. It's all crystalline. I think that's one of the best models that I've seen out of this entire batch. So I'm really just down with that. I think it's great. And yeah, so there's that. Then also I think just the Iron Horde ones, or maybe just the more orcish looking ones. Honestly, they're looking a little bit dull to me. You know, there's a lot of very washed out color palettes there. I'd rather things were a little bit more vibrant, and I know vibrant doesn't really equate to OMG, so Dark Savage, but I think it would be okay. You know, I'm alright with them having just more out there weapons from time to time, honestly. And speaking of more out there weapons, there's a pretty cool one. It's actually just a sword that's basically been broken and then strapped to a piece of wood and basically used as an axe. I think that's a really badass weapon, actually. Really, I'm kind of down with that one. I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, there's also this nice weapon. It's an axe, but it's kind of got these like three lights in it. You'll see it as we go past there. I think it's really fantastic looking. I like the color there. You know, those little splashes of color. I think they're pretty cool. They're definitely welcome. You know, they serve to kind of break things up a bit, and I think that is truly very important. So overall, really happy with those. And in general, I think the axes are a little bit more mediocre than some of the other weapon models. Especially just when I look at some of the swords and maces. And speaking of swords and maces, let's go and have a little bit of a talk about swords. First of all, we have these Arakoa styled ones. I think they look, honestly, very slicey, and because of that, extremely badass. Then after that, some Draenei styled ones. I think those Draenei ones are really awesome. I love the use of crystal in a way that is actually kind of sleek. They just look like nice, well-crafted, powerful weapons, and I really appreciate that. And then next, we have quite the opposite, actually. We just have giant, big old lumps of steel, you know, Horde style. Very savage and brutal. They're maybe not my own personal taste, but I can see a lot of people really just liking a giant fuck-off sword. I think that's pretty cool, so definitely fair enough there, and that's a weapon that's going to have its audience, and they will appreciate it. And moving on, there's also just some sort of pretty cool looking Draenei weapons here that are large, crystalline, maybe a little bit oversized. I think that's fair enough. It's nice to see these large crystalline weapons, though I'd imagine that they are just extremely heavy, so our characters must lift quite a lot. And then there's also one or two Arakoa styled. There's another Arakoa style one here. It looks just like something that rips flesh, and that's its sole purpose, and it's very painful looking. I think that's honestly quite badass. So, a very nice weapon. And then, of course, there are just one or two weapons that look like kind of just like a flat-out cleaver in a way. And once again, I'm pretty cool with that, actually. I think that's definitely got its place. Sometimes it's nice just to have some more simple weapons, because not everyone loves the ultra-flashy stuff. And just finally, there's a really cool weapon. It's like a kind of run-of-the-mill, pretty painful-looking sword with a little bit of an orb in it near the hilt with three lines of a certain color. I think that just looks like one nice, really solid-looking weapon, so pretty damn cool. So with them covered, let's jump on ahead to maces, which I talked about earlier. I think the maces, first of all, are very cool. They're very varied, and I think that's a nice thing. So first of all, there's some really cool Draenei style ones. They are, okay, just a big old lump of crystal, but they're full of color, they're vibrant, and that's something that I really like. As a player, I found that to be more interesting to look at, so definitely glad to see that. Then there's one or two more, I think they're Draenei style ones, but a little bit more dull, whatever. I mean, it's probably got its audience. So overall, I think the Draenei stuff is looking really nice. Then there are some Iron Horde style ones. How do you know they're Horde style, or, you know, Orc style? Well, because they have tusks in them. And I think that for what they are, they're pretty cool, though the color palettes, once again, just don't do a great deal for me because they're just not really interesting enough. So there's that. Now, another interesting thing about maces is that we've actually seen quite a few ones that are basically just branches of trees, maybe with a horn stuck on it or a blade or something, but I actually think they're pretty cool, and especially for a Tauren, some of those larger tree trunk style ones are going to be a little bit more reminiscent of the Warcraft 3 weapons that were used by the Tauren. I think that's kind of cool, actually. So overall, stuff's looking pretty decent there. Then, of course, there's just one or two which do look like more run-of-the-mill maces, but I kind of like them, actually. And, yeah, overall, pretty damn solid maces. You're looking good. Next, let's move on to the ranged weapons. Now, I play a hunter. I'm pretty excited about these. Well, at least the bows. I think the bows are nice, actually. The first sort of one that you'll see there is a little bit more understated, yes, but I actually think that it's pretty nice. It's, you know, it fundamentally is a twig. It's a bit of wood with a few adornments, yes, but it just looks like a nice simple bow. And the same goes for the next one. Okay, it does have some big flashy things on them, but I think they could look really cool in terms of their glow. But yeah, that's a really nice weapon. And moving on though, I think the crossbows maybe just a little bit mediocre. Not too hot in the crossbows, but I think that rounding it off, there are some really fantastic looking guns. Like really, really, really fantastic looking guns. Especially the red one. That thing, that just looks like it could blow you away. Really, really cool. So with that said, let's move on to the daggers. Now, the daggers that I think are the best are the Draenor style ones. Yes, you're probably getting used to me liking Draenor style weapons. Sorry, I just like the more vibrant, cool looking things. And yeah, I think their daggers are really cool. Some of the Horde daggers maybe a little bit less interesting, but overall, I think I'm happy enough with how daggers are turning out. And then in terms of fist weapons, sure there are a few boring ones, but I think the ones that just look like a twin prong knuckle duster are really kind of badass and cool. I like that a lot. So overall, I'm pretty happy with our daggers and fist weapons. In terms of other things, there's a Shadowmoon Valley style one, and when I say Shadowmoon Valley style, I just mean that it's got these like little runes on them, or like lines or something like that. I think that's particularly nice looking for a fist weapon. So yeah, I mean overall, really pleased with some of those daggers. Unfortunately, I don't actually play a class that could possibly use one. And now, with that said, let's move on to the offhands. So we've got our general book-styled offhand that we're pretty much used to at this stage. You know what? Fair enough. It's what it is. Maybe some people like that. I'm personally not too keen on it. Then we just got a kind of a boring old twisted branch, whatever. But I think the really cool one is, once again, it is a branch, yes, but it's got that nice curve at the top. It's got a rune in the middle. It's got these nice, just very I guess moonlit, if that's really the right word, kind of illuminated sort of plant life on it. I think that looks really, really nice, and it could perhaps go quite well with a priest character. So I think that looks really, really, really cool. Then next, we just have a few buckets of water. I mean, they look kind of dull to me, honestly, but I think that if that water could perhaps have that kind of like moonlit sort of glow coming off it, you know, the white glow that we sometimes see coming off a moonwell, I think that would look really nice, actually. And anyway, yeah, then just rounding it off, there are a few skull-looking ones, which honestly look like they could fit in Wrath of the Lich King. I think they're pretty damn cool, actually, so yep, fair enough. Pretty damn nice. And then moving on to the polearms, I think the polearms are looking really, you know, they're looking kind of good in some cases, a little bit boring for some others, but I think the really interesting one, well, you'll see it when it comes up, it's basically just a big old, it's just like these kind of layers of rock that are floating. I just think it looks fantastic. So yes, indeed, certainly a very nice weapon. And moving on, there's one or two other very cool polearms. I especially like the one that is essentially the jaw of some sort of large beast, but strapped onto a bit of wood. I think that's a really, really cool model, actually. Perhaps it doesn't look amazing, but it certainly feels amazing when you think about what it is, and in some cases, that really is what counts. Alright, so next we have staves, and there are only 2 data mine models so far. I think the first one there is extremely cool. It's, you know, all the different crystal shards, and it is what it is, but I think that it is a very, very, very nice model, and it would look fantastic with a robe. I think a sort of a white Velen style robe would actually look pretty well with that, as long as, you know, there's a few accents in the robe and that kind of thing. Still though, very nice stave. Now these other ones here, they're a little bit like they're basically just your crystal rod style sort of thing. But I think they're kind of cool. They kind of look like fish to me. I know that's probably not what they're supposed to look like, but overall I think it's pretty nice. I like the color scheme on some of them, especially the blue and red. But I think that some of the other colors are maybe just a little bit not as much, you know, up my alley. I think that's just the nature of recolors, though. That's the great thing about them. You know, different recolors fit different people. So yes, that is that covered. Let's move on and finish off with the shields. Now, the first shield up there is actually my favorite shield so far. Why? Well, because it's simple. It does a shield-like job. It's got a nice design, and that's it. That's what I like in a shield, honestly. It's a nice functional bit of armor. I think some of the other ones are perhaps a little bit messy in places, though I think that's probably what Blizzard were going for. I do like some of the ones that are a little bit larger and heavier looking. I think that's definitely within the theme of the Warlords of Draenor expansion. And then finally, you've got these crazy, I think, Arakoa-style ones that are just like loads of different colors, and they've got these like talon beak-style thingies on them. And that's a little bit weird, but certainly there's someone who is going to love that. And then finally, there's just this one that's like it's a big hunk of something. I don't know, it's like some sort of black metal, or I'm not particularly sure. Anyway, though, that's essentially a bit of a look at the kind of green questing gear that we'll be seeing in Warlords of Draenor. Of course, none of this is raid stuff, and overall, I think it's a pretty decent set. I definitely like some bits more than others, and I wouldn't mind it if Blizzard would just start making armor that's a little bit more out there from time to time. And I don't mean out there in terms of those Arakoa shields, but I just feel like the current way that Blizzard designs a lot of weapons, it's not going to allow us to have weapons like, say, the Muramasa, or Keldalar, or things like that. Or maybe not Keldalar, but I don't know. I just feel like, sure, in Burning Crusade, we had the odd bits of clown gear, absolutely, and some things looked ridiculous, but the creative freedom that allowed also enabled a lot of extremely just cool-looking sets. And like, hell, even the Banana Paladin, some people don't like that, but some people love it, you know? I just hope when it gets to raid gear that they're not afraid to make really out-there stuff that's really cool. But of course, no, this is going to sound hypocritical, but nothing like, say, the tier 14 or 15, whatever, Hunter, because, I didn't want to be wearing 343 Guilty Spark on my head. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. Hope you enjoy these models, and there's certainly going to be more in the future when it comes to all this stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.